certain my camera's not working. Let's sort that out first. And I think that's because I forgot to turn it on. Yeah, because I filmed the live stream from my actual camera that's connected to the computer, but then I've got Zoom on a separate camera. The Zoom is on my webcam. I wish I could do them both from the main camera because it's way better quality, but yes. Oh, bugger off. He says to me like, oh, you know, oh, what am I doing? He says to me like, oh, I should stop bullying Panda now, and he'll move on to Scott, and then he'll say, okay, I've bullied Scott for a while now, let's move on to Jay. Let's see. All right, camera's all set up. Hello, everyone on the stream. We've got Matt, and there we go, showing you now.
Beautiful.
Yes, well, with Scott, it was the theme was to consume a dairy-related product.
Oh no.
During the stream, and I couldn't really think of an equivalent for you, so I just said, get a Panda Explores quote and comment it.
Oh jeez.
So
they love quirky. Is the train, have I frozen?
No.
Ah. I'm looking at myself on the actual like live, and then I'm seeing your video. I shouldn't look at that one because I'm throwing myself off thinking I've frozen.
Yeah, no, the live's a few seconds behind.
Yeah. You'd think I'd remember all this stuff because I used to go like live Fridays as well, like but during the day when I finished work.
Yeah.
So I'm rusty as.
Well, here's the first question. I know the answer, but explain to the viewers, where does Panda come from?
Oh, Panda. Well, yeah, I don't know if Scott might have gone into it. I've had a lot of nicknames over my life because for some reason that Matthew is that common of a name in my age of people. In fact, I started my job. There was 2 Matts. There's now 15, I think, at our work. 15 Matts at our work, so it becomes a nightmare. So, yeah, I had a nickname like in Melbourne. Then I moved to Geelong. I got a nickname there somehow, and then Panda started in Geelong. And Scott came down with his dad to watch the grand final at the grounds, and I worked for Ford at the time. And I met him afterwards after they won the grand final. And, yeah, we spent all night out drinking with him and all that. And, yeah, for some reason, Scott's dad just kept calling me Panda all night. And we didn't know what he was talking about for ages. And he goes, isn't that his name? Isn't his name Panda? He goes, Scott goes, no, his surname's Kenny. Like, we call him Kenny. And so Scott just started calling me Panda. Now everyone calls him Panda. And it's just been one of those ongoing things for like 10 plus years now. So actually it might even be longer. It's probably close to 15 now of just being called Panda flat out. So depending on who you talk to, they've got different names for me. So
do you go by Panda at work?
No one even knows I have YouTube at work. Only one person does, and they found it by accident. They actually found my other channel. And they used to be a mechanic, and yeah, he came up to me one day, goes, "Don't you have a channel?" And I'm just like, "Shit, like, no, I don't." I don't like people I know knowing that I do YouTube or like have anything to do with it, because I just get embarrassed because it just becomes cringe. It's like when like Les starts just playing like random sound bites of me saying because that's all I do all the time. It's just I'm always catching myself, and now my son's doing it to me too, and he's just like, you ask him a question, he goes and I'm like, oh no, he's starting now too, so it's not
He's
good.
caught on to the Fogarty Avenue memes already.
Oh no. Well, he watches them with me, so it's we chuck it on the tally for a while before he needs to watch something else. But it's usually a lot of fun. He sits there and likes all the noises, and then he hears my voice, and he's like, "Where are you though?" You're just sitting next to me, so
Oh yeah.
yeah, so very funny.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
I don't know how many viewers know that you've got two channels or had
I
two
don't think a lot
channels.
do. I used to put it in my like info, like of the description of the videos, but then after a while, I started separating the two because, like my email that I sent you to like meet up for tonight is really random. My channel, I started my channel in like when YouTube started, I made a channel then because I had all these ideas because I grew up like with the family farm, so I used to go up there a lot and we used to like film stuff and all that. But my channel used to be called Nukanui Productions back in the day. So when it had like 2 subscribers, and I think one was my mum. So it's I changed it later on. But yeah, I've got 2 channels: Panda Garage, which I started about a year and a bit before the Explorers channel, and then Ben got into like urbex stuff really early on when I was living in Geelong, and I think I've got the book in this room that started me on urbex stuff because I was always interested, and I got right into it about all the Detroit abandoned buildings. So I became friends with a news reporter over there called Dan Austin, and so he writes for the Detroit Free Press, and I was his only fan in Australia. So he actually sent me on the second run of books. They made all the books that they had abandoned buildings now, and then they had buildings that were demolished later on. And he sent me all these postcards and stuff from Detroit that they found, some of them dating like they're 100 and something year old now, these postcards. So I'll have to find it at some point for you, mate, because it is... Wait, I'll see. It's literally under my desk right now. Where is it? Forgotten landmarks. There it is. So yeah, very good. He's a very good journalist. But yeah, he writes all these books. So this is the second book. And I love Detroit architecture. But these are all that's what he sent me. These little postcards.
Yeah, nice.
And some of these, they've been used. I think they found them in the post office. So like you can see on the back of them and all that they found them and sent them. And that one, like, look at this one. See the stamp date on that?
Oh wow, 1916.
1916. So he sent me all this stuff. Even that's a ticket stub from the. Probably shouldn't drop that. It's probably like 100-year-old. That's from 1920. That's a ticket stub from the Michigan Central Station, which is like famous. It's in like Transformers and all that.
Yeah.
That's Detroit from Cleveland. So yeah, it's Detroit was like my first urbex love, I guess you could say. So I've got all this like cool stuff. Oh, it even smells old, all these little things. But yeah, heaps of postcards, all that. He used to send me a lot of stuff, which was really cool. So got to know him well. I think he's just released a new book about Detroit postcards or something now. So yeah, that's sort of how I started in it. And then started doing it myself. And then Scotty and I had been talking before and found out he actually liked the stuff too, and that's how he started his channel. And then probably 2 weeks later I started mine, and we went on a real run there. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember I think the first video of yours I saw was Currambara. The Currambara station.
Yeah, that was one good thing about my old job is I used to travel the state. Like every weekend I'd be doing like 1,200 Ks or something in a truck, and that's how all those sort of videos, including the quirky one
Yes.
was filmed, because you can always tell them at work because I've got the high vis on. But yeah, Coomberrow, I don't think I've changed the description on that. I think it still says newly abandoned, and I filmed it like 6 years ago.
Well, yeah, I
7 years
think
ago.
you would have. It was. I think you filmed it just before we were going on our hike.
Mm.
So that would have been 2016. So
Yeah, and it literally was. It was literally they shut down the tourist railway up there. I think only like a couple of months before that when I went. I'm pretty
okay,
sure. I
yeah.
can't, not
The sequence of events of the tourist railway, they sort of, yeah, I think that even though they sort of officially shut down in sort of either late 2015 or early 2016, they hadn't actually been running trains for a while before that. But
yeah,
that was sort of when they officially said, no, that's it.
yeah. They couldn't get the funding. But I went through all that. So I think we've spoken about it before, or in person stuff. But I used to work like volunteer for the tourist railway in Geelong when I was younger, because my came from a family of railway people, and so my dad was a rail garden fireman for Vic Rail in the like 80s, right through the 80s into the early 90s. And yeah, so I was right into trains when I was a kid. And yeah, I when I left the tourist rail, I think I'd probably been in there as a kid right through till 18, 19. So probably about 10, 15 years of my life was spent there, like working around trains and doing all that sort of stuff, fixing stuff around the place, painting train carriages and driving trains and all that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I saw somebody joke the other day that that railway is Australia's premier Tasmanian railway.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, from the politics inside that place, it was, yeah, everyone's very Tassie focused, but they had a lot of stuff from like Flynsford Cement Works, which I think, did we film that day together? No, I was with Scott and Al back in those days when we went. I was not feeling well at all that day, so that's why my videos are like 4 minutes long.
Yeah, I definitely went to the Flynsford silos another time with Les. And
I always wanted to.
I think I got into was it the orphanage nearby?
Yes, yeah. We never got in there, but yeah, literally around the corner. Didn't even know it was there at all, and I lived around there for a brief period of time, and yeah, couldn't believe that that existed. Like, it was crazy, because probably when I lived there, I probably could have actually got in when it was still a volunteer. Like, they used to keep all the historical stuff. How do I do this? Sorry, mate. I'm trying to see if anyone's. Oh, there you go. Got a lot of train folks in there.
Yes, we do.
Seeing a lot of numbers. So yeah, it's yeah, growing up around trains and stuff. I've got my dad's book floating around for you to I was going to give it to you for a read. If, my dad wrote a book years ago. I think you can still buy it. It's called A Privileged Perch.
Okay.
It's about being in the railways for like the transition from Victorian Railways to like Vic Rail to Met V Line. And I'm in it a fair bit because I used to go to work with him a lot. So yeah, there's a lot of stories in there about like weird things that happened and crazy things, and I'm involved in a little bit. I do have the book somewhere in here, but I couldn't tell you exactly where. I think it's like an early copy of it from like 20 years ago or something. So it's yeah, Dad's a big old yeah, train guy too, and he's worked. Yeah, he loved being on the railways. Absolutely loved it.
Yes, well, it's time that I read some comments. Let's see, Stephen says he's got the first comment. He says we've got a bit of a quirky one here today. Matt K183 says yes, a quirky one. Dark Frosty says dairy.
Classic.
And Matt also says, hi Floyd. G'day Matt. G'day Stephen. Patrick says, finally have some time away from Year 12 study to watch a classic Floyd stream. How have you been, Floyd? I've been alright. I've just the past couple of weeks recovered from an absolutely hectic semester at uni where towards like the last month or two of the semester, I like woke up, did uni, ate food, went to sleep, pretty much every day. It was a grind, but that's
Miss that at all.
no. Oh gosh, it's really just because like the way that it happened with like I've had to do some subjects out of order and stuff, and so then I ended up where it was like, okay, if I want to graduate at the end of the year, I've got to do 3 of the hardest subjects in my course all at the same semester, and a time-consuming one on top of those 3. And I'm like, it's not something I really want to do, but also I don't want to spend another semester that I don't have to. So, yeah, I just was flat out, and I still haven't found out if I've passed all of my subjects yet. I'm still waiting on the results of, I think, 2 of them. The time-consuming subject I got a high distinction in, and then the subject I thought I was going to fail, I got a pass in, and the others, one's a little bit iffy, the other one I think is all right.
That's right. Well, my mate once missed a whole semester playing Halo.
Right.
You had to spend an extra part of a year finishing. He's now a big-time lawyer at a big company, international company. But I still remember those days of living in a share house with him, and he missed. I'm like, dude, are you going to go to uni today? And he's like, oh, it's all right, I'll catch up. And then he just missed a whole semester playing Halo. So I'm sure you'll be fine, Floyd, if you're actually...
Yeah, well... Yeah. It was just so grueling, and then you know what? So I went to Sydney sort of, a week or 2 ago. Time flies now. I was originally meant to go to Maitland for a historic steam trip. But then that was cancelled due to the flooding. But we were like, oh, well, we've already got our train tickets booked to Sydney, so let's just do it. And we'll go stay in Goulburn instead. And we'll, there's plenty of other stuff to do in and around Sydney, so I thought we could make a pretty good holiday out of it either way. And we did. And then, so I submitted my last assignment. The train ended up being replaced, the train to Sydney ended up being replaced with buses to Albury. And I was working on my last assignment on the bus on my way to Albury, and I submitted it on the bus. It wasn't the situation that I wanted to be in, but it was the situation I found myself in. So,
That's madness, mate.
But that subject, that was the one that I passed, so it worked out.
That's all right. Got those good bus vibes.
But then, on the night that I was supposed to come back, they cancelled the train last minute and didn't even provide buses.
It's just a suck a lemon moment.
Yeah, pretty much. So I, so my mates were, I was with a couple of mates and I was staying with them in Goulburn previously. They were going to stay on and a couple more nights beyond what I was going to do. But it was sort of like, and they'd come to Sydney for the day on the Sunday, because I was leaving on the Sunday night. So they'd come to Sydney and were going to catch the same train as me towards Melbourne, but they'd just get off at Goulburn. So they're sort of stuck with me in Sydney, and we're like, well, we don't have anywhere to stay apart from Goulburn. And we knew that we could get back to Goulburn, but we'd have to like catch a train to Mossvale and get a connecting train Mossvale to Goulburn at stupid o'clock in the morning.
Done that in Sydney before.
Yeah, so we running out of time, that's fine.
Getting timed out already.
Not quite yet. They give us 10 minutes warning.
I've got the counter in the corner now.
Yeah. So yeah, we were like, okay, well, that's pretty much our only option, is just go Mossvale and get to Goulburn at stupid o'clock, and we'll just sleep in the hotel all day. So they rang up the hotel and said, oh, can you put in an extra bed for me? And that got all sorted. But yeah, we ended up, the earliest official service was, I think it was at 6 a.m, Mossvale to Goulburn. We'd get to Goulburn at 7 a.m. But we talked our way into getting on an empty cars service, which is pretty rare in the railways these days.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But yeah, the ground staff all felt sorry for us, because they were like, well, yeah, it's not your fault that they just left you high and dry. But yeah, it was a bit of a hectic trip.
Yeah, it's like it. Jeez.
Yeah, but I mean, we, being railway enthusiasts, you know, stuck at Mossvale, we got the guard on the Campbelltown train, the train from Campbelltown to Mossvale. The guard rang up the station master at Mossvale, and said, you know, you got these guys coming, blah, blah, blah. And the station master said, I'll leave the waiting room open for you all night with the heater going, so at least you got somewhere warm.
Oh, that's nice. Wouldn't get that in Melbourne.
No, and yeah, so then, but I think we didn't end up spending much time at all in the waiting room, because there was probably 6 or 7 or 8 freight trains during the night or something like that, and there was plenty of action, so we ended up just filming and photographing all that, and yeah, didn't get any rest until we got back to the hotel at like 5 a.m. or something. Yeah, slept until like, I think I woke up at like midday, 1 o'clock, something like that, and didn't get out of bed until 2. And then wandered down to the pub for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever you want to call it.
Who knows at that point?
Yeah, and then so the cancellation was caused by a derailment at Gunning, which is sort of one town south of Goulburn. So we went back to Goulburn station during the day, and we were like, oh, well, we'll just hang out at the station, because nothing better to do. in this small town, and talking to the station master there, he was like, well, I'll keep you guys informed, but last I heard they were just going to cancel it again and leave you high and dry for a second time. And it was like, fuck, I hope they don't do that, but, you know, can't do much. And so then it turns out, yeah, they were going to run it, but they'll only run it as far as Albury, and then buses from Albury to Melbourne.
Repeat.
Yeah, so then the train, so my training in the evening, we've got apps that can track passenger trains in Sydney and New South Wales, and so we were watching it to make sure that there actually was a train going to turn up. And it did, and I got on it. I sat down, and the lights were off because it was like 11 o'clock at night or something, and then the conductor made an announcement and said, sorry to say this when the lights are off, but we've just been informed by network control that we'll be sitting here for a while, and so you're welcome to get off the train and have a smoke out the front of the station or whatever you want to do, stretch your legs. I thought, wow, they don't just let you off the train if they think they're going to go soon. So we must be here for a while. And yeah, talking to the staff on the platform, they said, yeah, about 1 a.m. they've been told. But they didn't want to tell the broader passengers because they said the previous night they'd been told it was going to be a 5-minute delay and it ended up being like 2 hours. So they didn't want to get anyone's hopes up. But yeah, anyway, we ended up leaving at 1 a.m. and I was kicked off the train at Albury at like 6 a.m. onto a bus. Tried to get sleep on the bus but couldn't really. And yeah, just got home and was absolutely wrecked.
We just slept for 2 days.
Yeah, so that was my hectic holiday, and yeah, and then I've started back at uni this week, and hopefully this semester is going to be less intense, but it should be. Oh, you'd be interested in this actually, Matt. I've joined the RMIT Racing Club, and we are building a Formula-style race car from scratch to compete against other unis. We've got a budget. I don't know the exact budget, but I believe it's around 150 to 200,000.
You can do a bit with that.
Yeah, so there's like the whole chassis is carbon fibre, carbon aero, carbon drive shafts. The engine is, I don't know the exact engine, but it's like around a 750cc single cylinder motorcycle engine.
You can beef those things up. Some of the best motors, like there was a V8 that came out, I can't remember when it was, but it was a Yamaha V8, and it was two motorcycle engines joined together to make a V8, and I can't remember what car it was in, but it was like a huge high revving, like crazy power. Those motorcycle engines are so good to muck around with.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to pause the stream and then we'll switch over to the next meeting.
All right, see you soon.
Cool, we're back.
Beautiful. Love the thumbnail, by the way, mate. Of course.
Yeah.
Legendary meme. Oh, jeez. I got caught in 4K on my phone.
Yeah, I was initially searching back through my photos, like actual photos, to try and find one, but I guess, I don't know if you count yourself lucky or what, but I didn't have any that I could find at short notice. I think I found, like, I had one of you and Les walking together at, that was the first time we met at the Truganina Munitions.
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, that video was one of those ones that took me so long to edit. And I remember Les messaged me close to when, I think it was about a month out from when he posted his one. And he's like, hey, I finally got to this video. I'm like, oh, shit, I've like touched it about 5 times and not happy with it yet. And yeah, that took so long to edit. But yeah, I remember the build up to that, because I remember watching, I started looking at urbex stuff just around in general. And I was just like watching like Dan Bell, I was watching like all those sort of guys. And then I started looking at Australian videos, and that's when I found you guys. And loved your videos and stuff like that, and seeing all these places around Melbourne, I'm like, oh geez, like I know of places, but I've never gone in them. And then yeah, when we started talking to each other online and then, yeah, met up, yeah, that was a big day. That was a long day. Les wanted to, I think, film every single rock we could possibly like find it, and I'm just like, I'm like, this is great, this is gonna be fun. And by the like 9 hours later, I think we're sitting in the shed like eating lunch, and I'm just like, when does this end? when are we happy with what we've filmed?
Yeah, it does. That was quite the experience to do with first time experiencing and explore with Les.
Yeah, that's like baptism of fire kind of operation. And also getting to see a Nando shot like filmed in person was one of my favorite things ever too. But you know how I had to edit out a huge chunk of the start of my video because like Les doxed himself on my video.
Oh.
So not only, because you know how Les doesn't like saying his last name.
Yes.
Well, in my video, I'll have to send it to you because it's so funny. You know when he's filming, he's getting me to film the intro to the video on your video, like your guys' video, and then he filmed the start of mine. I was holding up the camera. He's holding my camera behind, like in front of me filming the video.
Yeah.
His flap on his camera is sticking out, and it's got not only his full name, but his phone number on it. And he's filming that. And I'm just like watching the footage back. And I'm like, Les, like, so now every time he rings up, I'll say his full name to him, and if we're picking him up, I'll yell his full name to him, and he gets like so embarrassed. He's like, "Shut up! Stop yelling my name!" It's so funny.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I remember that he, for a while, he thought that he hadn't told you his last name, and so then one day you were behind him or you rang him up or something, and you said, "Leslie, blah blah blah," and he was like, what, how do you know? and you and Scott were just like laughing, and you wouldn't tell him for ages how you knew.
Yeah, how I
and
knew.
he just would freak out.
I'm like, I know people. We just really put mayo on it. I think that was when we filmed like that day where we picked you up at like was that at Nuttawading? We picked you up from the train station and we
I think so.
And we're screaming his name at you guys while you're waiting for us to pick you up. And Scott and I just were like yelling out of the car, yelling, Leslie! And he's like, shut up! Stop saying my name! I'm pretty sure maybe you met us later on. I can't remember. It was when we filmed that like Sunday school.
Yes. That's right, I met you.
Yeah, you met us later on. But yeah, when we picked him up from the station, I think he's standing in a chef's outfit and we're just screaming his name at him, his full name. Jeez, that was funny.
Oh,
we've always had fun with you guys. Like, we've always had like the best best time out and stuff. It's always just wild because we don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, the chef's outfits, yeah.
Just like, what are they showing up in today? Like,
yeah, I remember Les and I would just, I mean, no surprises here that it was always Les's idea to turn up in wacky costumes. And
I guess you can't be taken as like someone up to no good if you're wearing like a full blown like costume. I think, and half the time we wore it because we knew that Jay would be around, and we just wanted to look absolutely stupid. You know, like Jay's vibe was always being like the cool people and whatnot. Yeah.
And then we'd just turn up in these ridiculous outfits.
Just like ruin the shot. Well, I did the amount of times like with Jay, like, you know how his like channel at the start, like when he redid the rebrand for like the 18th time, where it says like you can hear someone going, "Oh, is that Jay Boston?" Like, we every time we show up to somewhere and you'd see him from a distance go, "Hey, is that Jay Boston?" Like before he even started doing it, we would scream it from as far away as possible. And just start absolutely like trying to give him this fanfare, like just rocking up and just screaming Jay. He's copped it a lot. We just used to I used to watch his videos early on. I'm just like, oh, who's this guy? And start like I think it was around the same time I saw it because I saw you guys. Then I saw he was in your videos, and then that's how I sort of found Jay. So over time, we just started like collecting all these like people that we started meeting up with, and yeah, we had to. I mean, there's a lot of bad people out there in urbex, like a lot of not good people.
Yeah,
I think I met more duds than good people. So I think that's why, like, even now, like I couldn't tell you other than like a handful of people that I still know that do it. Like, it's all people like I've never seen before.
There's a lot of new faces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wonder where a lot of these people have gone because, like, I guess, like, I don't really go on Instagram as much anymore. Like, I don't have a personal Instagram account anymore, and I barely go on my own one. But I used to, like, speak to people on there that I knew and stuff like that. But I couldn't tell you where half the people we've met over time have disappeared to. Like, they've just moved on. Like, I feel like it does have an expiry date for some people. Like, even myself, like, the fact that like we're talking now, like we're mainly talking about old stuff because I have not been in it for a long time. I think Scott mentioned it the other day when he was on your stream about the incident we had at the bocce place and the reception place with the big posse that showed up.
Yeah.
That was pretty much when we got home that day, and we just had shocking luck. I'm like, that. I think that's it for me. I think I'm done. Like that's the end. Like we just had like the worst day ever filming. Like we'd never had a day like it, and I was just like, I think I'm done. I think I'm finished. So that's why I've got a little bit of footage and like places that we've done, and especially one place in particular. I can't mention it, but I think you know the one that we went that night exploring all the powers on. One of the coolest places ever.
I think I know the one sort of near me.
You climbed a radio tower.
Yeah, definitely know the one now.
So that's the one I'm still sitting on. That was probably my favorite place we ever went to. Just how insane it was to get in, how insane the place was in general, and how much time we ended up spending there.
Yeah.
That was like so much fun. Like we went on a real run there where we just were going to these awesome places, and then just all of a sudden it pretty much like dried up overnight for me. I'm just like I'm done. I'm happy filming like mining videos now and like weird places that like are abandoned. Like, but I barely will go looking for them now.
Well, I think that because I remember like starting urbex in 2015 and then sort of started getting into it 2016, and I always sort of say that 2017, 2018, those were the golden years.
Yeah, they were.
and like, yeah, go out every weekend, hit up 5 places every weekend type thing. I think that
I just feel like there's, yeah, sorry, mate. I just feel like there's not any places left anymore.
Well, that's
Like
what I was about to say. That yeah, there's just not. I wondered at the time. I was like, is this an ongoing thing? Is it that there's just that many places that become abandoned, or is there just something happening and whatever? And yeah, like there's certainly a lot. Like, I mean, of course, there's going to be the occasional house that becomes abandoned or whatever, but in terms of like big epic places, yeah, there was certainly a lot more.
Well, the other thing too is that I feel like there's 2 like historical times. Like I remember, like when I was doing all the videos all over the state, I was in sign writing, and I drive a truck around and stuff like that. I remember the amount of schools that were abandoned through like 13 to maybe 16 was insane. Like especially like I'd work around like the suburb of Reservoir, like northern suburbs, Melbourne. There was about 7 high schools and primary schools that were abandoned all at once. And they were just sitting there for ages. And I used to drive past them all the time. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to go look at. And never did. Like, that was just before I started. But there was that. And then, like, just before the Commonwealth Games, like around Williamstown and stuff, like, there was all the, like, Alcoa, like, smelters still down there. There was, like, all these huge factories that they demoed for the Commonwealth Games that were just around. Even, like, the Southern Cross Hotel in the city, the famous, like, Trans Am one. Not Trans Am, Pan Am. Sorry, I was reading about it the other day, actually, because I was working near it. But there's like all these places like that were just empty for like 10 years that would have been just epic as to go see.
Yeah. I do know of one large abandoned place in Melbourne that I haven't, or I might have seen one other person take a photo there. I haven't looked around it myself, but Les has, and yeah, we should get around to going there because.
I just feel like a lot of my videos, if I'm going out, it has to be something really good because I think we got spoilt there for a while of like really good places, and they're so unique that it was hard to go back to filming houses.
Yeah, I definitely got sick of empty 3-bedroom houses.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to them. Like, oh wow, the toilet's clogged up, and there's like graffiti on the wall, and there's always like a dinger on the floor or something like that, and like a glass saxophone. That's about it. Like they're the exact same cookie cutter videos, and I'm just getting over it.
Well, there's so many people like who, and it still occurs to some degree, but there was plenty of people who would be obsessed with these so-called fresh spots.
Untouched.
Yeah, untouched, and it's literally just like a 3-bedroom house. It's not even abandoned. It's just between owners.
Yeah. Well, I did pull that once. We used to be in like a group chat together with a bunch of other urban explorers and stuff, and I think I posted a photo of a hospital, and everyone was losing their mind to where it was because it wasn't the one that you guys went to; it was a different one. And I was like, no, can't tell you, really secret, all this. It was technically it was abandoned, but it was still maintained, and I was maintaining it that day for my job. And I went in there, and all the equipment was still in there. It was a private hospital, little one. It's gone now. It's been demolished, but it was a 100-something-year-old house that got converted into a private hospital, all the back. And you go into the surgical rooms. It still had all the tools. It still had like everything. There's probably like a couple of mil worth of stuff in there. And I was taking photos of everything. Like it had everything left. They went bankrupt and just shut the doors. They just like said everyone has to leave. And so the photos I got were so good. But I remember there was a bunch of like sort of big time urbexes around Melbourne at the time that had to be in first, desperate to get in that joint because they had no idea where it was because it never was like seen as empty. It was never abandoned technically. But yeah, it's been demolished now. They're building apartments on it, but yeah, it had a good run there. It was a hospital at the back, and then it ended up becoming cosmetic surgery at the front for a while. But yeah, everyone that worked there that I met, like originally before it actually became empty, said that like the whole back of the hospital was haunted.
All right.
They wouldn't go back there, and I was there by myself. And I was hearing noises like you wouldn't believe. So I had headphones in the whole time. I'm not listening to you, ghosts. that place is weird. If I find the photos, I've got them somewhere. If I find the photos, I have to send them to you because that was epic, that joint. But occasionally you'll see photos pop up and you're like, oh, that place looks sweet. And then like there's always like someone that had to get in there first, and then they don't cover up anything. And then it's gone in 2 days. So it's like, what's the point? Like,
that's half the thing with a lot of these urbexes is that it's not about the building for them. It's about the ego and their clout. Yeah.
I think that's the issue I had a lot with a lot of these people too. Like that we met over time, is that the egos on these people were shocking. You meet them in person, there's some like little dweeb that like it thinks they're larger than life, and it's just like I could put you in a headlock right now and noogie you for like 3 hours and you couldn't get out of my arms. Like it was like I'm just like why am I listening to this? But like you'd speak to them online, they seem like these big time people, and then just like you meet them in person, you go, oh, you're a bit of a flog to be honest, mate, and I don't really want to hang around with you. So like after a while, I started just not talking to some people because I'm like I do not want to waste my time with you.
Yeah,
it was very toxic there for a while. Like people were going after other people and stuff like that, and it was just like it was a bad environment to be around.
Yeah, I've always stayed out of that side of things as much as I could.
Yeah.
And I know I've always been known amongst friends as the angel of urbex.
The angel of urbex.
Yeah, because no matter what, like it seems that I just couldn't get on anyone's bad side.
Yeah, I think I got on a few, but that's just how in like people like friends over time and stuff, like they either like you or they don't. Like especially me, I can be very like loud and noisy sometimes, and especially if I'm comfortable, that's usually when people get more flack from me. Like Les, he gets berated constantly by me when I see him in person and stuff like that, because I just love giving him shit because I know he does the same to me, but he's comfortable enough to do it too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess like a lot of the people that I've met over the years and that I wouldn't really talk to anymore because, you know, we
just general.
Just in there, you know, we just got different philosophies about exploring in the end. But a lot of those people, like, I think what helped me was if I had a problem with someone, I would just talk to them directly about it. And there's so many people in the urbex community who would talk so much shit about someone else behind their back and just could never admit to that person, like, in person.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, with Jay, for example, like, if Jay did something stupid and walked past a sign that said exactly where the spot is, and it was a pretty sweet spot until he walked past that sign, then I would have a go at him for it. I wouldn't just talk shit about him behind his back. I would have a go at him, but I would try to be constructive in that, saying, well, you know, this is why I don't want the building getting destroyed. This is what's leading it to get destroyed, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like there's definitely some people who have the mindset that, oh, it doesn't matter if we blab it because it's going to get trashed anyway. It's like, well, I'm not going to trash it, but I'm not going to care because it's going to get trashed anyway. It's like, no, if you just shut up, then maybe it will get trashed in the end, but you can at least prolong it.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, there's some places like that have been around forever. I don't know, is Moreland Insulator still around? I feel like they've turned into apartments or something now.
I don't know about apartments specifically, but it's demolished. I know that much.
Yeah, because the like, how long was that empty for? Like 30 years, if not longer. And it wasn't that. It was nearly a shell, but it wasn't that bad.
No, there were plenty of
places you go to.
There were plenty of other places that were more trashed. I mean, Bradmill around the corner was way more trashed.
Oh yeah, I remember when Bradmill was running. Like, that would have been pretty sweet to go right through the joint. Someone, I can't remember, years ago, someone posted photos of it. They got in there like 2 years after it shut, when all the other factories were still there, and apparently it took them like 3 days to go through because it was that big.
Not surprised. I mean, I think I've been to some places that have taken me like forever. I mean, a country hospital, you'd know the one, but I won't mention it. But it was just huge. Like, and now, admittedly, this is Les' time that we're going through it.
Les's Explorer's always like triple the amount of time it would take someone normally. Because I remember Scott used to get so angry about that all the time. Because, like, Scott had the same mentality as Jay sometimes. He already knew his shots. He'd be like, bang, 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 I'm done. And I'd be like sort of working out B-roll stuff half the time. And then, like, Les would be like, filmed the first room, and he's like, just got onto the next one. And then he'd just look at me and go, what the hell's he doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, Scott was always better than Jay, and like Jay was so quick that he missed half the joint.
Yeah, well, like Scott respected it more, I think.
Yeah.
Even when, like, that whole story, I'm sure Scott's told you about sort of like the build-up, but about when he went and filmed the Big Brother house. So when Jay went up there, I watched the video. Scott didn't watch it because he wanted to film it fresh. Like, he wanted to go up there, fly up there, stay with like friends, go to the place, film it like with his own eyes first, and not watch anyone else's stuff. And I was meant to go up with him, but I'm like, mate, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get the views, and I'm going to take like 5 years to make my video. So I'm going to stay home and work. So the one thing I did tell him though, I'm like, don't film behind the scenes. Like, I won't tell you what happened in Jay's video, but just don't film the behind the scene stuff. No one wants to see that shit. Because Jay's focus the whole time was where the cameras were, not in the actual place. So when Scott filmed his video, it blew up, completely blew up. And I think Jay was so mad about that. It was the same as like when Rosie the Shark blew up, and he posted like 500 videos about it.
Yes.
That Rosie the Shark thing was cursed. All those videos, like, that place that got so out of hand so quickly, and it was for like a 2-minute clip of a shark in a tank. Even when we filmed it that day, Scott and I could not be asked. Like, we're like, oh, there's a shark, cool. When we filmed it, and that was before like it ever got posted anywhere. And we're like, okay, like, there's a shark in the tank, cool. All right, next thing. And we went on, and then just everyone focusing on that damn shark. And it was like, there's like 50 of them around Australia you can go see, even bigger ones than that one.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty unique that there's a shark being left in a tank of formaldehyde, but
how many times though people? Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry.
It got way out of hand, just too quickly, and just like it blew up, and then the news. I can't remember which website, but some news posted about it, and the news, and this, gosh, now I'm getting PTSD from the news articles that you try so hard to hide a place, and then the news article would go, this abandoned place at blah 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 road, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, like, well, this place is destined for failure now. Like, because that place was packed with stuff. But yeah, I remember it got on. It went global. Like, it was on like. It was like, you'd see articles on it, and it was all like in Spanish, and then you had like it was over in South America, and then it's like in America, and it's in England, it's in Europe, and I was just like, bloody hell, this was nuts. And we'd already been through and filmed it before that all happened, and I think I might have been one of the last people to post my video, because I'm like, I've got to rush through this and edit like an hour and a half of footage, raw footage, which on my old computer was like a nightmare, and try and post it. I think it ended up getting like 60,000 views or something, because by then the ball had already like gone, and I was just standing there going, oh well, missed my chance. It was the same as like the that mansion, the one in Turak that everyone like we filmed, and it wasn't in bad nick then. It was just the water was leaking in the roof because they'd cut the pipes, and so we're like, okay, like they're trying to destroy the joint, and then somehow it got leaked out where it was. And then next thing you know, they got what they wanted. Like, that place is now being turned into like 50 apartments. Yeah,
that was the ultimate. Like, the developer just got exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, and that was a beautiful house. Like, that was unreal. The amount of money they spent on that thing. Like, that was a sweet house. Like, it was beautiful, and I drive past it a bit because, like, I work in the area and stuff. And, the place that got demoed next door illegally, it's being built up now, and that place is being built up, and it's just, like, apartments galore. Like, it's just, crazy. It's funny how it ends up coming. Everyone's talking about, like, oh, don't get rid of this place, don't get rid of this place. I still get messages about it now. Like, all the time, people are like, oh, is it still there? Oh, hopefully they saved it. I'm like, no, that thing got destroyed.
Yeah, demolition by neglect.
Oh yeah, I'm just
and
glad
then when
that
the real demolition came in.
Yeah, well, they didn't have much to demo. It was like demoing toothpicks by then. It was like it was just gone. But I'm just trying to think of any places that ended up getting saved that we went to. There's not many. Like the gym in Wheelers Hill. Like, that was one that Jay leaked, because we used to play a game, and I think I told him that too. I said, we like watching your videos, and Scott and I will sit there and see how long it takes before we know where it is.
Yeah.
Because, like, we'll just sit there and go, all right, like, what clues are you going to leave for us in this? And then all of a sudden it pops up, you're like, bang, like, it's on such and such street. We found it already on Google. Like, we already know where it is.
Oh, that gym's still around, still trashed.
Yeah, I went past it the other day. I don't know. They're doing something to it. But
no, they're not. They were going to do something with it, and then, I don't know, COVID, whatever. I think it was failed even before COVID. But no, nothing. I think they even, like, they got security at one point. I love these places that, like, the joint gets absolutely trashed to oblivion, and then they install security. It's like, what are you even protecting?
Yeah, that's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken dam.
Yeah.
It's like, it's already over. Like, it's already over. Sorry, I saw a comment on there, Robert. Next Panda Garage video. Oh, thanks, mate. Appreciate saying they're awesome. A lot of people online don't. I actually get more hate on that channel than anything else. A lot of middle-aged men that say that I don't know what I'm doing, and half the time I don't, but they don't know what they're doing either and don't make videos. But Rob, the next video I have, there's big gaps because we sold a lot of our cars. We don't have as many cars as we used to have. So it's very hard now because nothing's broken.
The Pain of a Mechanics channel.
Yeah, I know, it's not good. We had a run there where I was having a nightmare, and everything was broken all the time. But I do have a video. We just sold our Vectra recently. I repainted the roof, and I've got that video. It took me 8 months between starting it and finishing it, just because I started working on the roof, then something happened, and then my son was born, and then eventually I got time to actually finish the job. So I've got that video. I've got to edit it. I'll do it just for you, Rob. Seeing you said that my videos are awesome, I'll edit that video for you. Now that I've got power under my staircase, I can actually sit here quietly and not have my son attack me for sitting at the computer. So I'll do that. In terms of like urban exploring videos, I think I've got only stuff that we promised each other years ago that we wouldn't post until it was safe to do so. But yeah, I post here and there on both channels, but not as much anymore. I just don't really get a chance to or have the products or things to do. But yeah, car channel, I'll get to it. I'll do some stuff.
I liked your old your red Monero.
Oh, that Monero is sick. Well, the first time I met you, I was driving it.
Yeah.
Because I came picked you guys up from the station, and it appears in the Fogarty Avenue video for there when we took off and made Les run back, and then we took off without him. But I was driving that pretty hard around there and scaring Les. That was fun.
Yeah.
Because that car used to go. But yeah, no, that met an early demise, that car. My wife, luckily, it did its job and saved her from being injured in a car accident. So that was the way it went out. But still look for it out there with all the Monaro Car Club things I'm in. So I think someone's just keeping it hidden in a garage somewhere for now until they can fix it. But I know it hasn't been registered. I know that. So I don't know what's happened to it at the moment. But
yes, well, let me read some more comments.
Yeah,
that's always the thing is, yeah, there's always conversation, and I always get caught up with talking.
I'll reply to Robert's other one about, for like exploring, would they let you go around Glen Rowan? Is that for work, Rob? Because Glen Rowan, I stopped there. You can actually, if you go back and watch my video in Glen Rowan, you can see my truck in the background, my sign truck, sitting outside of where the inn would have been. Had a lot of fun getting around there, just stopping and going through Glen Rowan. I know that Scott and I have talked about going up to Glen Rowan, like driving up through like the old part of like Hume Highway, and going back to Glen Rowan. We've had a lot of fun up there. That's not on video. We stopped in there one time, and we still talk about the museum tour there. It could be one of the funniest things you could ever experience in your life. So if you ever go up there to Glen Rowan, do the Ned Kelly museum tour thing where you go through, even if you've did it as a kid, because like the ending is wild after it's actually finished. You walk into someone's bedroom to get out of the place, and it is the most insane thing ever. You're just standing in some guy's bedroom, and you've got to walk through it to get back out to the front of the shop, which is just like, where else do you see that?
I'd love to just go up the Hume over like just literally spend like a week just going up the Hume in a leisurely pace, stopping by wherever, seeing
I've always wanted to do the old Hume Highway, see how much you can actually track. Because like places like Seymour, the old wooden trestle bridges from like the early 1900s still crossing the Goulburn. Like they're still there, and there's a lot of it still there, which is really cool. But just had all these ideas and just never done anything with them. Like I wanted to film like the Mad Max locations, because right where I live, I won't say where I live because then everyone's going to know, but one of the scenes from Mad Max, the original movie, was filmed about 1 kilometre from my house, which is pretty sweet. You won't know where it is because in the movie they've diverted the road now. It's not the same layout, but there's still some things that are there, which is pretty cool. And I know Les is interested in doing the same thing, filming Mad Max, because he always pesters me about it. Because it would take us forever because it's just so spread out. But there's another one where I filmed, took 5 years to make it, put it on my garage channel because I thought people would be interested in it, bombed. It was the Thunderdome video.
Oh, yeah.
That video I put.
Thunderdome is underrated.
Thunderdome is really underrated. That was sweet. Like I loved it. I went back 3 times to film that video, and it took me 5 years to finish that video because I never liked how it was, and I kept changing it. I went out there with a drone. I did that. Get it home, didn't like that. Then I have to fix something else. Then I got different audio. Then I did that. And by the time I finished, wrote a script. Only time I've ever written a script for a video. I said to my wife, I'm like, I guarantee this video is going to bomb. Like, it's not going to do well at all. And it's like barely gone over 100 views.
I think the best Thunderdome video I've seen hasn't got many views. From Telltale Traveller. She did it fairly recently. But yeah, just like did it quite well. Found some old footage of like the opening day and whatnot, and intermixed that in. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I used a bit of the opening, like the first NASCAR race there, and edited it all in. I was so happy with it because I actually finally got a computer that worked. Like I went for years with this like '07 Mac that was like absolutely like maxed out on everything, and it just kept tanking. So a lot of my videos are edited on my phone, just because that's why like the quality's never been overly great, or I haven't done anything too special on them. It's because I wasn't able to. So now I've got this computer and it does like a much better job. I mean, still it's like a 2014 Mac, like it's nothing spectacular, but
I'm on a 2014 Mac.
Yeah, I mean they're great. This thing is fantastic. I love it. But it's a lot nicer to be able to actually edit on something that can handle the speed a bit more than the old computer did. It was dying a slow death.
Right. Well, we've got like not long left on this meeting, so we'll switch over to the third one.
What was that, sorry?
We'll switch to the third Zoom meeting.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry, mate.
Yep. All right. Let's do that. All right, I'm going to read some more comments because I never get around to it. One that was ages ago was Matt saying, Floyd, how good were the parallel runs with the Tates and Ks? Yes, that was an awesome trip. I did that. Time flies now.
Is that Lilydale?
So it was a parallel run, and we had the steam train on the one track and the Tate on the other, and the Tate went to Lilydale, the steam went to Upper Gully, and then came back to the city, and then went out to Calder Park.
Oh, nice. I did see a bit of footage from that. It looks sweet, but like during COVID, remember when I was like, you messaged me about the Tate's first like test run, and it was going all over Melbourne. It came out towards my way, and you asked if I could go down and get some photos of it, and those photos like turned out really like cool. It was like we hadn't really got out of the house. The little bloke was only a few months old, and standing in a brand new station with like 100-something-year-old Tate was pretty sweet. Especially when it took off, because we're standing right next to the cab, and the horn on those things, or the whistle, is that loud. and I was just like, bloody hell, blow my eardrums clean off. So it's pretty cool to see those. But the one train I wouldn't mind seeing out again, which would be pretty sweet, is an L class.
Yeah, well, there's rumours going around at the moment that Metro want to fund the restoration of 2 of the L classes so that they can use them on works trains.
I mean, it's smart.
Yeah,
because they're borrowing those ones from SSR at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, SSR have got the works contract, and so they're using either some T's that they've got or P's.
The worst paint jobs of all time.
They one of the P's, I forget the number, but I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me, but it was with V-Line for years, and like it was still in the last time it had a repaint was probably like 2000 or something. It was just ancient, and V-Line never repainted it because they were like, oh well, we're going to get rid of it soon enough.
Yeah, who cares?
And then so they got rid of it, and SSR just slapped an SSR logo on it and went, we're not repainting it either.
I mean, Pacific National's the same. They're still running around with Freight Victoria trains. They just slap their sticker on the side, hope for the best. Man, that's so funny. Yeah, it's the weirdest, like, seeing. I think you added me to a page, and I sort of just see it here and there because I just find it interesting, even though I'm like, I sort of pushed myself away from trains a lot because I was just like obsessed when I was a kid. I still like sort of seeing what's happening and stuff like that because I spent so much of my like childhood around them and going to my dad for work. Like my dad used to run works trains and I'd go with him at like it'd be 2 a.m. from Epping, and we'd have like 2 H class like motors with like doing like the ballast runs and stuff like that, and sitting in the old guards vans with him and stuff like that. And so it's pretty cool. I mean, I spent time like South Don Yard and like where the hump used to be and all that sort of stuff. So like when you got into West Tower, I was just like, I'd known that it had been like accessible for like a few months beforehand, and I was just like, oh, I really should go up there because I remember going there when I was really little, when it was still running, and I was just like, oh, that'd be cool to get some photos from my dad because he was stationed at Tottenham Yard when he was like, I think he started there when he was like, he would have been in year 9 when he started there. Like he left school and went there as a number taker. So he always asked me like, because he's getting a bit old and stuff now. So he's like, oh, if you're ever down in like Tottenham, can you try and get a photo of inside the signal box or something like that? I'm like, oh, I'll try, but I'm not gonna run across like 18 tracks to get there. Like,
well, actually, this was probably like 5 years ago now, but I crossed the 15 tracks or whatever it was, and there was back then there was lots of stuff parked, so I could easily hide. And I got to the signal box and I climbed up the drain pipe and got in through the second story.
Oh, jeez, that would have been good.
On the balcony.
Apparently there was someone living in there at some point.
Possibly. I mean, definitely not when I was there, but oh gosh, the thing that sticks in my head was like down below the locker room, like you couldn't, like it just screamed like 80s men's club.
Yeah.
Like the amount of like Playboy magazine cutouts and whatnot.
Oh. Yep. Yeah, that sounds like it. Every factory I ever went into as a kid, like you walk in the office and you open one drawer, like we used to store like our trucks, like when I was little at like this yard in Thomastown, and you go in the office there, and I think that was like the first time I'd seen like a fully naked woman was like opening up the drawer. There's like all these magazines, and my brother and I are like this, like, what is this? Oh man, That yard used to have like a huge walkway across the whole length of it, like from that tower all the way out to like the road and then out the other side.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a completely different world. Like because my dad still knew everyone when like he left the railways, we used to go to South Dining all the time, and I can't remember what was out there. There was some special train sitting out on the turntables one day, and he's just like, "Oh, we'll go out and see this." And we drove out there, like to the turntables, like across all these tracks and stuff in our like little Gemini or something like that, and getting out and just climb. I think I got a photo. I think it might have been one of the like the hump engines, and or was it little? It was, I can't remember the name of it. It was like Polly or something.
Oh yeah.
It was Polly. It had a name. Like it was like a name train. They were like, oh, this is Polly or whatever it was. I don't know. Yeah, and it used to sit out there, and it only ever worked to certain train. Or was it the W class? I can't remember. It was one of them. It was like a really weird, obscure train that only sat out at South Dining or something like that. And it's just all coming back to me just then. I was just like, bloody hell. I think it reminded me because that A class that they painted up in the old 80s livery.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was random. Random choice of colour. Like to renovate, like I guess it came out in that colour, didn't it?
Well, yeah, that's right. It came out in that colour, and I mean that loco A66. It's a bit infamous now or infamous or famous, I don't know. But it's quite well known within the railway hobby sphere because there were so many times where they said, okay, it's going to retire, and it'd retire, and then a month later and come back and start working again.
Oh, so it's like John Farnham.
Yeah.
They should just call it John Farnham. There.
Yeah, that's been suggested.
Oh, Roderick, Little Trimmer. That's it. That's the name. That's the name of it. Little Trimmer. Yeah, it just came back to me then. It was really weird, like driving out there and seeing like a little train, Little Trimmer. I'm pretty sure that's it. The name, like that name's ringing a bell in my head. Because my dad used to always talk about being on it. He's like, oh yeah, no, it's Little Trimmer, whatever it was.
Yeah, well, A66, its most recent retirement was sort of its actual retirement.
Yeah.
And even now, it's sort of in, it hasn't exactly passed into preservation yet. It's still with V-Line, but it's only used for heritage runs. Yeah,
or saving other trains.
Yeah, so I mean that's why they painted it in the old orange and grey colours.
One of the worst. The amount they must have just got that money. Like they must have paid like nothing for the orange paint because like Ansett was meant to be orange, and then they realised it was a terrible idea. So the government just like, hey, we'll buy it. We'll buy all that orange paint. Paint everything orange. That's a good idea. They should have done it in the They should have done it in the Vic Rail colours. That would have been outrageous. All orange.
Yeah, well, there's a B class that's getting restored at the moment at Steam Rail that currently the one nose is painted in V-Line, the other is in Vic Rail.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I saw a picture the other day of it all in what do you call it? Like even the carriages in the orange and grey, like the orange and silver, I should say, the Vic Rail colours.
Yeah.
Because we can't remember where it was. It was only in like when I was a teenager. I was walking. I used to live in Epping, and they've got the depot there that they do all the repairs. And there was like a crash or something on one of the Comex trains, Comex.
Yeah.
And there was a rack out the back of like the repair shops, and there were all the Vic Rail fronts of those still in orange.
Yeah.
They must have just had them hidden away somewhere, and they've pulled them out, and they were sitting outside for a while. I'm like, bloody hell! Like, how long have they been sitting on these?
Okay,
everyone's commenting like crazy.
Yeah, well, I've got to read some more.
Yeah, I don't mind going into
Vandenbroek,
some rail stuff.
Vandenbroek says, I know someone at school who didn't come for a full year pretty much in year 9, I think maybe went 2 weeks. They started coming again halfway in year 10 and a little bit in the start of year 11, then they've stopped coming again. All right.
Yeah.
Albert says, I failed a semester at TAFE because I went out photographing trains every day.
That can happen.
Let's see. Stephen says, bring back Les's chef outfit.
Oh, it is. It's like his big stupid hat he wears with the flap on it.
Oh, yes.
How that one got retired.
Well,
hat.
Yeah, his old one got retired and now he's got a newer, similar one.
Digital camo. The future.
I remember one time, I don't know what we were doing, but anyway, we were going into the city and we got off at Melbourne Central and I noticed that he had left his hat behind on the train, so I obviously picked it up as we got out. And then I hid it behind my back, and just as the doors closed, I said, "Hey Liz, where's your hat?" He's like, and just as the despair of the train departing with his hat, I pulled it out. I'm like, "You're lucky."
He would have had Oh, that's great. Jeez, a lot of messages. So I might be a bit further down the list than you are.
I think you are. Vandenbroek says, my art teacher apparently knows some good abandoned places, but he won't tell me because he doesn't want me exploring them, lol. He doesn't want to be held responsible. Yeah, I guess. Roderick, his original comment, good evening all. I've been listening while working on photos. I've finished them and can't start text until after the episode is finished. Urbex is where I must listen and learn.
Oh.
Rod does a lot of railway research, so doesn't
nice.
know much about Urbex. I mean, I've obviously told him bits and pieces and he's picked up stuff. But
it's like it's like all the it's just a different version of history, isn't it? You're just looking in physical structures that don't move as opposed to on rails.
There's plenty of history in the physical structures of railways as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, spent a lot of time. I used to, our office in Queenscliff, I used to work at one of the people I worked with at the railways also owned a bus company, and that's what my first job was outside of school. And our office was inside the train station. It's a 100-something-year-old train station. And apparently there used to be ghosts. I never heard anything in that joint. It never made any weird noises. But, amazing that place survived all those years, especially when it shut down. Like, it sat there for like 30 years before they really did anything with it. It's got a new roof recently.
Oh, yeah?
Because Little Trimmer. Newport Railway. Yeah, that was the one. Little Trimmer was the one because it always reminded me of like a train from Thomas the Tank Engine. And then leftovers. See, Ansett. Yeah, that's what my dad told me anyway. Said it was all from Ansett.
But yeah, that's one of those railway urban legends.
Oh yeah, everyone loves talking about how because it was such a dramatic change, like going from like dark blue and gold, which looked sick, to that. It's just like, I know it looked modern and stuff at the time, but there was nothing like going to Spencer Street Station to go to Geelong and then just seeing like a faded as like orange V-line train just sitting there. Especially like we used to catch like the train. We always made sure we caught the train to Warrnambool, like the Warrnambool train. So you got in the old like Spirit of Progress carriages.
Yeah.
Because they were always the nicest to ride in. Even now, like you get in them and they're still better than most of them.
Yeah,
there's... Like how they've got concrete in them. Oh, here we go. Shut up, Scott. Knew you were going to put your mug in here at some point.
Roger says, there was a word trend for orange for public transport to look modern. It backfired. Orange fades worse than other colours and ends up salmon pink.
Yeah, it is true. I used to go through a fair ton of that paint. But I just love it. Do you ever see the photos of like before they opened the City Loop? And it was like Bert Newton with like two girls in like gold bikinis. Like, what was that about?
Yeah, I've seen those sort of photos. Yeah, you look at it and you go, wow, that's 80s.
Oh, well, that was like pushing from the 70s too. Like, it took a while. But even now, you go down there and half the signs are still from the 80s.
There's a few if you know where to look for them.
Or even like on the walls, if you go to the ends of platforms, if anyone doesn't know, which I'm probably telling it'd be like me trying to explain how light works to people that already know, about the signs at the end of platforms on the walls, how it says like which station is next, and it's all written in the old like blue and gold. I know it's in the yellow and black, the old enamel signs, and museum always pops up because I'm still remember when museum was museum. When we used to get off and go to the library to go to the museum before they built the new one, which was pretty crazy.
Yes, the Melbourne Central that is not in the central part of Melbourne.
No, top middle.
It's
named.
That's whack. The funny thing was that when they were building the shopping centre on top, the shopping centre said, government will pay you a good sum of money if you name the station Melbourne Central. And the government said, no, we don't name, that's one of our policies, we don't name stations after commercial enterprises. And then later on down the line, they ended up just naming it Melbourne Central anyway, and the shopping centre didn't have to pay a dime.
Oh, no. Oh, that sounds like a classic government thing.
But now, it's so to get at you, like you pop up out of the station. Like if you're a tourist and you're not from Melbourne, you pop up, you think, oh, Melbourne Central, that's like the centre station of Melbourne. Okay, well, I'll go there, and then you come up the escalators and you just get dumped in the middle of a shopping centre, and you're like, how the hell do I get out?
Yeah, and you're also on Lonsdale Street, which is like.
Yeah, you get out and you're like Lonsdale Street and yes, a bit of Swanston Street.
Oh, yeah, it's gone through a few renos now. It's even harder to get down there, I feel like, half the time.
It is. It's like, I mean, I used to get off there every day for uni. Actually, that's not true. I caught the tram up the street. But I often, and that was the reason actually, was because it was such a it would be quicker to catch the train if it weren't for the fact that you had to navigate your way through an entire shopping centre before you could get out.
Well, it's like 3 or 4 shopping centres. Like if you will eventually get to the middle of Melbourne if you go through like the Emporium and then you go through the next one, then you end up somehow in Maya, and then you pop out and you're on Burke Street. Then technically you're in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
I saw Roderick to Grace Street subway. Well, that actually was the first subway in Australia, wasn't it? For the 56th Olympics. I'm pretty sure they built it. I think it's actually got a heritage listing on it now, the subway, because of its historical significance to Melbourne. I'm pretty sure. Sorry, mate, I'm right down the bottom.
Oh no, that's where I am as well. I've caught up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it actually does have heritage listing, so I don't think they're allowed to change it too much.
Well, look, heritage listing only goes so far sometimes. They can still butcher a lot, even with a heritage listing. But yeah, it's closed at the moment. While they connect it to the metro tunnel.
Man, there used to be this, when I was a kid, there used to be a sandwich shop down there. My dad always used to take me there. And there's this lady. I don't know if she had bad hearing or if she just was loving the upsale. But you'd walk in there and Dad would go, "Oh, I want two ham rolls." And she'd go, "Four ham roll?" And he's like, "No, two ham rolls." She'd go, "Four ham roll?" And it went back and forth, four ham roll, two ham roll. And all I remember is being in that subway going, "I'm just really hungry." And like, it was a 10-minute like argument with my dad and this lady going, four ham roll, two ham roll. So that was my experience in that subway. And every time I would go down there, I just always think of that stupid interaction. Oh,
Yeah, well, I remember, yeah, going in around the time that the metro tunnel was announced. I think construction had just started, because I was going to uni, and I was like, oh well, I've got a free afternoon. I might as well photograph it because I know it's going to get bullshit in a few years for the metro tunnel. And at that stage, I didn't know exactly when it was going to get closed and whatnot. But yeah, photographed it then. And then I also got in it about 2 days before it actually closed. And just seeing, all the shops closed up, and I think all the shops had officially closed, but there were still a few shopkeepers just cleaning up. And like there was an old like computer repair store there that had been there for ages, but whatever stock that they hadn't sold, they just laid it all out and said, free to a good home.
Yeah, go at it.
Go at it. Just be respectful of others. Don't take more than your fair share, but apart from that, go for it.
Well, it's like, do you see during the week that someone managed to get inside the old subway for Spencer Street?
No, I mean, I know that's still around and that it's just used for services and whatnot.
Yeah, no, someone got in the old entrance from the other side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, apparently they got chased out of the joint. I thought it was pretty funny because we used to go through that all the time because I was back and forth from Geelong all the time when I was a kid. And, we used to go across there all the time, like with the old station back in the day. And then you got Southern Cross and it's just get lost in that joint.
Yeah.
And it's just very grey now. That aged quickly.
Well, there was some journalist who wrote an article the other day, and it was classic, like inner city journalist who is disconnected from reality, and then finally some situation arises and they get put in the same situation that everyone else has been dealing with for years, and they feel like it's a new thing because it's new to them, and they just assume that it must be new to everyone else. Yeah, so they were like, oh, went to Southern Cross and it was so hard, you had to get over the tracks and the diesel fumes, and it's like, yep, everybody's known about those things since it was built.
Yep. Oh man, yeah, but it's just like, it just reminds it's just always dusty in there, always. Like for such an open space, it's so dusty. Like it just every time I walk in that joint, I feel like I'm having to shake my clothes off.
Yeah, it feels very lifeless. Like even the few like fast food joints that they've got scattered around the place, half of them are not open.
Nah.
Most of the time, so it's like the only joint that's like consistently open is Hungry Jack's and the crap sushi place.
Do you remember when like Virgin Music used to be up there? I used to spend so much time in that joint because I remember once I missed the last train back to Geelong, and I had to spend like the whole night there until the next train came, and I was just like, I saw some of the weirdest stuff you've ever seen. Spending a whole night in that like waiting room.
Yeah.
Now, in the end, I probably should have just gone to Crown and just spent the night there because it would have been nicer and I wouldn't have had as many weirdos hanging around. But yeah, because at the time I gone through like I can't remember how many days it was, but I went as a rail conductor for a V line, and spent a lot of time with these group of people that were all going for the same job. And the girl that kept saying she was not like working it out, she couldn't get it. She ended up getting the job. She actually ended up passing and getting the job. And I ran into her that morning for the first train of the day. She came up to me, she saw me, and she's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Yeah, what are the chances of this happening?" Like, she was actually the conductor for my train.
Oh, yeah.
So that was that was pretty cool to like see her after all those about a year had passed since then, and yeah, she was doing well on there. She finally got it worked out, which was amazing because she was the one that freaking out the most about not getting it.
Rod says, even I have got lost in that horrible station, and I was born in the urban jungle.
Yeah, I just don't understand the layout. Like, it's just it doesn't. It's just awkward. Like, I've just never.
It was clear that the people who designed it, A, had commercial interests, B, probably never catch a train in their life.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I understand if it was like to access like the Collins Street. Is it the Collins Street overpass?
Yeah.
Into Docklands? Like, that makes sense, like, being it on that level. That makes sense. But then, like, if you need to go anywhere else, which is, like, 99% of people, because no one's going across over there to the bridge and then going nowhere, essentially, unless you work for the Age or something, so that's, like, 10 people. Like, you're going down. Like, you're going down onto Spencer Street, so, like, it's just constant elevators. Like, it does my head in. The only time it's good is, like, getting into, like, going to the footy stadium, where it's just like one way out and it's like bang, you're out, which is good. But that's my
oh gosh, I remember I was at the station one time, and I was standing up at the Spencer Street concourse end, and just watching the footy crowds come in, going, and it's like 10 o'clock at night or something whenever the footy finished, going from a pretty quiet station, just footy fans just pouring in.
No, yeah, it becomes pure chaos.
It was just pure chaos, and and then the platforms filled up and people were still trying to get down the escalators, and the escalators were just shoving people into the already crowded platforms, and it was just chaos.
No, it's not good at all. So, but yeah, it's true. Won awards. It did win awards. The roof did pop at one point too. I don't think a lot of people still remember that the roof popped one time. The big perspex like bubbles in the roof when we had that huge hailstorm. Yeah, it was like a bunch of them that exploded. It was just wild.
Party Music DJ Hire says, I can remember the old subway at Spencer Street. My dad worked for V-Line. Yeah, it's a shame they just rode off the subway like, oh yeah, well, we've got this overpass now and we don't need the subway.
Well, the thing is, they could literally open it tomorrow if they really wanted to, because, like, it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still access. Like, they never boxed off anything. They just use it as a service, like, corridor. But it literally connect every single platform, except for the metro ones.
Oh, I think even them it accesses.
I guess because you only see them on the V-Line platforms.
I think the only ones that it doesn't access is 15 and 16, which is
because they added them later.
Yeah, the new built platforms. Yeah. But Stephen says, I do remember going in the subway when I was very young at least once, but it would be better to reopen it to ease the crowds.
Yeah,
Rod,
everyone would remember.
now Rod says, my comment was central. Southern Cross is a layout disaster. It won a design award from architects, not from transport operators or from passengers.
That's very true. The original station was never meant to be the station. It was only meant to be there for a short amount of time, and then it just never changed. But I remember still going in the hall. Like, you go in the hall and have the big wall, like the big print that they used to have in the outlet store at the back. That was up on the wall and stuff like that. It was a whole different world because I'd gone in there so often. Then we're going in there once they built the new place. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. Rod says they built big pipelines through it. Yes, the subway got the whole way to Docklands. It also got under Collins Street. Yeah, I know that the subway got that far, but I don't think they ever built an access to 15 and 16. Maybe they did. I just can't remember.
I'm pretty sure they added that later on.
It would make sense if they did, but I don't know.
The Collins Street entrance is the one that got opened this week, where someone managed to get in that side.
All right.
Because it's still there, the entrance. It's still got the fence and all that around it. Just haven't done anything with it.
Stephen says, I wonder if anything last used on the last few days of the public using the subway is still there, like Met card, berries or old signage. I'm pretty sure Marcus Wong got in there a couple of years ago, and by a couple I mean probably about 10. But I remember him posting photos of old signs, or maybe his photos were from the last days. Or either way, I'm pretty sure I've seen photos of old signage, and I'm pretty sure the old rifle range, I think, is still down there.
Well, yeah, DJ
Platform
Hyde
numbers
said
is
that, still on the
still on the
walls,
wall.
which makes sense. They wouldn't have changed anything about it, but they probably stripped out all the other stuff like it's in the way because they drove the little buggies down there.
Yeah, well, the platform numbers would be wrong because the old station had platform 1, which doesn't exist anymore. Today's platform 1 is different to the old station.
The original one did that take over from Flint Street as longest platform in the world?
Oh, it was long, but I don't think it was.
I don't think it passed the because it was weird. Like the layout now, I still remember it. Like getting on the train at like platform 1. I think before they started using it more for their standard gauge, but that was a whole different layout. Like you couldn't even put a plan down over the top of Southern Cross and go, oh, this is where everything was. Like they changed so much of it. Probably
the track and platform layout, if you ignore the old 1962 platform 1, the rest of the platforms are pretty much the same, and you could even put a diagram of the original like 1850s Spencer Street station on, and a lot of it is still the same in terms of the platforms and the tracks.
I always just thought it looked completely different to what it was.
I mean, the superstructure of the station is completely different, and the access and everything, there's a lot about it that's changed, but the first couple of the first couple of suburban platforms weren't, if we're talking original, like 1850s original, I think what we know today, I'm not good with this information off the top of my head, but
it probably would
have the point is that definitely they haven't actually changed the platform layout that much. They've added stuff over the years, but the only thing they've taken away in terms of a major change is the the live stream's gone out.
No. It's still showing up.
Yeah, but now it's frozen on my end.
Huh. Now you're still moving in the stream.
Oh, we got it.
I think we only got about 2 minutes left on this thing that's reading in the corner anyway.
Yes, we do. Yeah, well, the platforms are still mostly the same. Okay, let's read a couple of comments in the 2 minutes that we've got left.
Yeah. And if you want me to come back on, guys, we can talk trains and stuff. I feel like we started on urbex and just moved to trains, to be honest. Because I don't talk about it too often, but I've got a fair bit of knowledge in my head about that sort of stuff. So if you guys want to see more, harass Floyd, and we can have a whole episode on just talking about trains if you want. I can try and find some old memorabilia somewhere. I've got that much just random stuff. I think I was meant to give you a bunch of stuff, actually, Floyd, a while ago that I found of mine.
Right.
I was just like, I was like, if you wanted it.
Yeah.
Just a lot of random parcels, especially V-line parcel stuff.
Yeah. All right. If this meeting drops out on us, we'll get a final one just to wrap it up, but we won't stay too much longer. Rod says no, Spencer Street never beat Flinders Street for length.
Yeah,
and Rod says the transitions can be tracked quite well, and a lot still shows I can't help during an episode. Yep. And yeah, Rod says another night, we'll have to get back to work plans. Yeah, I'm just aware that this Zoom meeting's dropping out in 1 minute and we're still not wrapped up entirely. You know what, I'm just going to pause it and then we'll move on to a final Zoom meeting just to wrap up, and then we'll be back. All right, back for the last time. Yeah, Party Music DJs says, I've got my dad's conductor's whistle and carriage key. I always laugh at the keys, like the old Victorian Railways keys, because it was like it's a
square.
Yeah, it was just a square.
They changed it later on to a H.
Yeah.
But yeah, no real change.
They didn't. But it was just like they didn't need anything greater.
No, just need something.
It was It was just to stop the average punter opening a door that they weren't really meant to. It wasn't really meant as any form of like actual security.
Nah. Well, it's like with the whistle as well. If you ever find, if you want to know what a standard issue, like state issued whistle is for the railways, it's an Acme Thunder. Acme Thunder. So if you see one of those whistles, you still see them floating about. Someone gave me a pair of keys recently where at a property I had to go do some work at, and they had an actual guard's whistle, like an Acme Thunderer, which was pretty cool. I hadn't picked up one in so long, but yeah, occasionally they pop up. I had a pair of V-line overalls for a while, like fireman overalls that I found. I think I was at an op shop one day and I found them and they're brand new. So there's still stuff out there.
Matt K183 says, one of my friends has 1 billion keys from the VR and V-line, everything from Velocity to S-Class cars, Tates, the lot.
Oh, well, I can't say we've got any of those, but they used to drop keys everywhere, like 5P, 4D, all those key, like is it S103s, I think they are, for comics. They used to drop them all the time. They'd be everywhere. Like, you could just pick them up. I've still got all my keys from when I worked at the tourist railway. And I used to come home from nights of having a few wobble pops, and I used to get to Epping Station and start unlocking all the locks and taking them home with me.
Oh, yeah.
And so I gained quite a collection. I actually got the original lock for the end of the line at Epping to the Whittlesea line in the yard there. So it actually been run over by a train at one point. They had a derailment, like a train rolled across the road, missed a bunch of cars and hit the block, and had a huge gouge through it. And I've got that's in the museum in Drysdale. If you're ever down that way, you'll see I think it's a 5P lock with a huge gouge in it. It's actually from Epping Station, the original one.
Oh, yeah.
Before they built the new one.
Well, yeah, I think Scotty might have a bunch of keys, because at least he did at one point, because he said he had copies made of them and stuff.
Yeah, well, he's I guess it's handy when he knows what he's doing with that kind of stuff. So
yes, don't want to get too much. Don't want to incriminate him.
Yeah, not too technical, no.
Yeah. All right. Well, we said we'd wrap this up, so I think.
Yeah, that's true, mate. I just realised the time. I got a message too. It's just like, oh, where are you? I'm like, oh, jeez, didn't realise what time it is. Like, all I can hear is like kids shows being played upstairs, so I know the little guy's entertained at least. But no, it's been fun, mate. It's been fun to reminisce about some places and stuff like that, and we just ended up completely 180 and talking about trains for probably half the time. So it's all good, mate.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Matt will stay on with you for a bit, and then so live stream in 2 weeks' time. What am I doing? I have not decided anything. We can go for some more interview type things if people like the idea of that, or we can go slideshows, do a few slideshows, or I can ramble on about a technical topic if that interests people, or something else. Throw your ideas in the comments and message me on Instagram or whatever, and I'm happy to.
Floyd, before you go, party music DJ I just was talking about the rail trail from Drysdale to South Geelong. When you did that walk, you would have seen like public toilets, like shaped as stations, and like little areas that you could sit and eat. I actually designed those. Believe it or not, because they got an architect in. They spent $200,000 to build a glorified bike shed, and I actually drew that up on a piece of paper and sent it to them, and they actually built that. So that's what we wanted, and that's what they built. So sorry to quick little brag in there at the end, Floyd.
No, all good.
I was a handy designer back in back when I came out of school. So can't say I got anywhere with it, but yeah, that's my fun little fact.
All right, well, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and I'll announce the topic closer to the date. I'll probably put out a poll saying whatever people want. Yeah, vote on it, whatever. All right, it's been a long one tonight, but it's been good, so catch you next time.
You're always going to have a long one with me. I ramble on. Sorry, mate.
All good. All right, thanks everyone for watching.
Believe in yourself, everyone.
Believe in yourself.